Welcome back to the Extra Rep Podcast, guys. I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
So today we're going to be talking about warm-ups. So specifically, we want to go through, I guess first, obviously getting the heart rate up. Is there any mobility concerns? Are there things we want to, quote unquote, activate? And then we'll actually go into, your warm-up sets for your actual first exercise and beyond. So I think, it'd be a really good place to start, Liam, if we think about maybe, something to potentially raise the heart rate, get the blood moving. Would you recommend that when you sort of warm up with your clients, or what do you recommend at the moment?
Definitely. So it could be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes on an incline treadmill, or just low steady state on the Stairmaster. I do have I probably didn't grab it, but you can see the stick over there. There's one for those who are just listening via audio. Every gym you see has one of those broomsticks without the broom on it. And you can do some thoracic extension mobility, shoulder mobility stuff, just really to get the body moving after your heart rate's up. And this will just get yourself ready for, okay, we're gonna start lifting something, All we're looking for is stimulating your sympathetic nervous system a bit, switching your motor units on, and then also at the same time getting a bit of blood flow.
Yeah, cool. Can you explain why that's important in terms of for example, the blood flow side of things? Why do we need the blood flow going before we start, getting into our working sets?
Yeah, well, firstly, less risk of injury, right? We want as much blood flow as possible because we know through muscle hypertrophy, right, we need to stimulate motor unit recruitment. Now, we do that by gradually warming up before we get to our heavy stimulating sets. You have to sort of teach your nervous system to sort of get ready to be okay, we're going to recruit some more fibers, recruit some more fibers, recruit some more fibers. Then we get to that last set and then we're okay, we really need to recruit some more fibers so we actually produce the muscle growth stimulus that we want. Mm-hmm. So that's why it is very important to get blood flow there, not only for less risk of injury, but for actual results that you want to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, hit the nail on the head there. It's, even just 5 minutes, just warming yourself up. Obviously, if you're doing, specific mobility, strength work, you can sort of tie that in. That's probably going to warm you up as well.
Yep.
But you can really do either. When it comes to my clients, I guess it sort of depends on, obviously, is there pain? Is there a restriction somewhere? So normally, if people, if there is, someone's got an injury or something that we're working around, we're trying to open up joint range or mobilize it or whatever we're trying to do. I'd always start with some sort of mobility work. Mm-hmm. For most people, like you mentioned, they need to open up their thoracic, their T-spine,
yep.
And then probably, hips, hip flexors, quads, always really tight, and just lengthening through, hamstrings, glutes, and opening up. So some 90-90 movements through the hip, 90-90 rotations, like a couch stretch can be really good.
Yep.
Obviously, we want to try and be, if we can, probably a little bit more dynamic in terms of our movement, which basically just means we're moving the body. We're not just holding a stretch for 60 seconds or something. Again, nothing wrong with that. But if you are going to do, I guess, your static stuff, maybe start with that and then move to some more dynamic stuff. Hip rotations, breathing as well can be really good for the thoracic. For example, I like doing a sort of cat-cow and then the elbows on the bench and driving in and sort of breathing into a butcher's block there, which I find really good to help open up that thoracic as well. But from there, it's just about, depending on what you're doing, getting yourself ready, priming the nervous system. The lock big three, shoulder big three is one I really like for the upper body. So that's basically lying head down, hands out to your side. You're going to go 15 out and up, and you imagine the floor's made of glass. Then you're going to bring your hands down, palms facing down towards your feet. 15 trying to touch your feet like that, and then you're going to flip the palms around another 15. That's just a really good one to sort of activate, I guess, all the stabilizing muscles. But it's a really good one to just warm up sort of those areas, and then again, get the stick out, get some rotations in, get some movement. And then I think then is a really good place to then go, okay, I'm ready to start warming up for my first exercise.
Yeah. Do you want to mention sort of your favorite exercises, ones that are static, ones that are dynamic? Because I can give you mine just off the top of my head. And look, it is really as simple as this, guys. Just some dynamic rotation arm swings, forward and back, 10 each side, could be all you need to just really just get blood flow going, just, less risk of shoulder injury before you start benching or whatever it may be. Same thing with squatting. You just do some dynamic leg swings unilaterally, and that can be good. My favorite for statics that I do every single day are squat holds, and I sort of actually sort of lean back. I use my elbows to push my knees out, and I sort of just sit there and breathe. And the other one is a dead hang, where my shoulders just hang from a bar, and I just try and like visually focus on my spine lengthening as much as possible. So your scapula is detracting right down into your traps and everything. You're sort of shrugging, but you're just letting your neck hang. Oh, it feels amazing. And it just opens everything up, opens the diaphragm, opens everything, because we do get really stiff from, you know, people's lifestyles of, you know, sitting down, and especially like even if you've woken up, like your spine has just been lying in one spot for 8 hours, and then, or unless you've rolled over or whatever it may be, and it just helps open everything up. Because I'm someone who trains first thing in the morning when I get up, and I find just doing these things just helps me on my pathway to progressing and staying injury free.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned with the spinal stuff. I know there was like, I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Mark Carroll. Anyway, there was basically just saying when you wake up, like your spinal cord generally needs like an hour or two to actually like lengthen to its full capacity. So like, yeah, doing something like a dead hang to sort of do that, especially if maybe your first exercise is a deadlift, is probably going to be really useful. Yeah, I've sort of mentioned, I actually do like, at the moment, I'm doing sort of like over on a bench, holding just like a 2.5 kilo weight and just sort of pushing into that thoracic area, and then just breathing for like, 15, 20 breaths. I find that's a really good one to help open up thoracic. Even like a torch press for sort of your serratus, get your shoulder blades moving, on a wall, like doing one of those ones where, I can't remember what's that one, we're on the foam roller glides, like the wall glides on the wall, to get your serratus and again, upper back moving as well.
I don't actually know the name of
Yeah,
it, but I know
exactly.
I know
the
exactly which one you're mentioning.
Yeah. Basically wall glides where you're bringing your hands up against the foam roller. Lower body wise, even some sort of like split squat, contralateral. So you're going to try and like turn into that opposite side, into the working side, which is really good. It's going to help open up the hips through there as well. And then, like you said, even just like a little squat hold. I think the best thing you can really do is, unless you've got like some sort of injury or somewhere where it's really, really tight that you're trying to open up, is literally just doing, if your first exercise is bench press, it's like, oh, you could just do some push-ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get your full scap moving, get everything going, nice and slow, nice and controlled, full lengthen, full resistance on the way down, full tension on the way up. I think that's a really good way to go about it, just in terms of just getting the body, number one, warmed up with the blood flow, and just number two, moving and getting those muscles, like I said, pre-activated, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet.
So when it comes to warm-ups, we've mentioned it in our programming before, but we highly recommend warm-up sets before your working sets. So the reason we do this is everything I mentioned previously about stimulating motor units, getting your body and your nervous system primed to actually recruit certain muscle fibers, but also less risk of injury. I used to be the dumbass who walked straight into the gym, grabbed the heaviest set of dumbbells, and then just went for curls. Or I used to just grab the 30 straight away, put them on my knees, go straight into a dumbbell bench press. Heart rate would go straight to like 160. I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. Like, so stupid. The risk of injury of that, the way I used to train, I just can't believe it, even saying it out loud. But it is so important. Like, your body's not primed to lift super heavy the second you walk into the gym. You have to teach it to do that.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for the psychological element as well, of actually treating your working sets treating your warm-up sets like a working set. Because if you can do that, think about lifting weights, it's a skill at the end of the day, right? You get better at lifting the weight. And of course, muscle progression comes from there, but the first few times you do it, a lot of it comes from the nervous system. So if you start with an empty bar, you got, 20 kilos and you normally bench 80 kilos, I still want you to try and treat that 20 kilos with the respect like you have 80 kilos on. You still want them to be as perfect as they can. You still want to focus on pushing off, doing all the right things, focusing on the right cues, because then as you get to that heavier sets, that builds you, the confidence and the exact same routine. So if you can go through the exact same setup and routine you do, on your exercise again and again, that's going to influence motor unit recruitment. It's probably going to happen a bit quicker. And in terms of, I guess, when we talk about loading, generally
mechanical loading.
Yeah, mechanical. Loading in terms of what percentage of RM are you going to start warming up at? And it does depend per person. As a really quick, I want to do 2 warm-up sets and just get into my working set, I'd probably do one at around 50% of your working weight. Maybe go for 6 to 10 reps there, nice controlled, nice and slow. Rest about a minute and a half, something like that. Then I'd probably go to 75%. Then same thing, I'd probably go 3 to 5 reps there. If you want, you could go for a third one, just at 1 rep at maybe like 90, just to really prime that nervous system, especially if it's like heavier weight. Maybe it's a bench press, like a squat deadlift that's just heavier loading. And then that's when I'd get into your first working set. So your nervous system should be really primed and ready to go from there. That's the simplest way that I would program warm-up sets. And of course, it's different per person.
Yeah. And look, warm-ups also happen outside of the gym, right? It's little things like how much water did you consume before you actually went into the gym, right? Because if you're dehydrated, doesn't matter how many warm-ups you do, like your sodium, potassium pump, all that stuff, your blood flow is going to be way shitter than if you just had some water beforehand, right?
And that affects muscle contraction too.
Exactly.
So it's like if you...
And if you had glycogen as well in the cells.
Exactly. It's like if you have carbs and you're hydrated, I can guarantee you will be able to, number one, use more motor units, and number two, recruit them more effectively, and you're going to have a better session. So you guys might have had a time where you go, I was all over the shop today. I just feel like I had no energy. Like I normally got that bench press for 8 reps and I got 4 today. Like what's going on? It's, again, probably a combination. I would definitely say it's dehydration, glycogen, but then also probably sleep and, potentially if you're extra stressed. And then again, if you've been on the program for maybe 4 months or something, you might have potentially just tapped out as well. But definitely look at those first 3 first, especially if it happens, for 2 weeks in a row.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? It's not just how important warm-ups are, because they are for injury prevention and, getting the results that you want, but everything ties into everything, right? Everything outside of the gym ties into the gym.
Yeah, for sure. I think like one thing I will mention as well is in terms of, tying it in and I guess little things that you can do to just get the extra 5% out.
The extra rep.
Yeah, well, the extra rep, exactly right. Creatine and caffeine, probably your 2 keys here. Creatine is probably gonna, the easiest way to look at creatine, aside from the brain benefits, is that it's probably just going to help you potentially push out another rep or 2. Is in the simplest form, 5 grams a day every day. Just take it, please. And then obviously caffeine can help fuel performance as well. But generally caffeine like sort of masks fatigue, I guess, is the best way to put it. So it might make you feel like, hey, you're stronger than you actually are. But again, same thing, maybe 45 minutes, an hour before you work out. Again, everyone's tolerance there is very different, but I would say it's sort of a minimum of 150, 200 milligrams.
Well, the type of caffeine actually does sort of change, right? Like I was having this conversation with a client who took caffeine pills, 200 milligrams caffeine pills. And they asked me because they were seeing all the videos I posted and everything, they're like, would that have a different correlation effect to the coffee, or would it be the exact same? And I said, well, no, actually the coffee is going to be better purely because it actually has that added circulation effect of the blood flow and the brain drive neurotropic factor. Whereas just taking caffeine pills, yes, you'll get the same ATP production amplification of the nervous system, but you won't get that additional circulation going on though. So the type of caffeine you actually use matters, right? That's why, certain pre-workouts are mixed with things to help the circulation, like nitric oxide and, citrulline malate and a few things like that. So the type of caffeine that you do take does matter. It is worth mentioning that because they're not all the same.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where intra-workout hydration comes into it as well. That's why a lot of people, consume like beetroot juice or like electrolytes, coconut water, all those sort of things, just to make sure they're optimally hydrated when they're obviously working at their hardest. And again, it's a reason why a lot of people, if you think about how hard you're working, obviously you need fuel during that. So that's why you might see bodybuilders, having carbs, having, like dextrin and like fruit juices and lollies and all that shit, around their workout window. And then you go, why aren't these people getting fat? And it's like, okay, yes, there is something to be said about potentially, if you are going to have more carbs when you're bulking up, to have them around that window can definitely give you probably potentially an edge in terms of not storing them as much as body fat and things like that. But at the end of the day, like I said, guys, we know still comes down to calories, but that's probably, I guess, a really good guide to warming up. Warming down, do you want to talk about?
I don't really warm down, to be honest. Once I do my last working set, I'm out of the gym. Yeah. I think the only thing I want to mention with that sort of, warming down is more, it's from getting your body to that, sympathetic back to that parasympathetic state. So, like all the bros would want to slam a protein shake, 0.2 seconds after they finish their workout. So I think a really good one is just, 5 minutes of
stretching can just help to bring down your nervous system. Because if I tell you guys to just sit there and breathe, you're not going to sit there and breathe. No one's going to do it, right? So going in, just being like, okay, do you have some potentially tight muscles? You know, just holding a stretch for a minute, focusing on breaths as opposed to like, well, your breath is like your rep there, right? So big breath in through the nose, big breath out through the mouth, that's 1 rep, you know, and you might go 30 reps on, you know, each quad, then 30 reps on each hamstring, then each calf. And these are little things that, again, can help bring that nervous system down a little bit, get you more into that rest and digest state, so then you can consume, you know, post-workout carbohydrates, protein, things like that. And obviously the shake will then, you know, probably do a much better job at getting, you know, and the protein get a much better job at getting to where it needs to go at the end of the day, and obviously helping you recover straight away as soon as you finish the workout.
Look, I'd say my warm down is literally like my gym's like 8 minutes away, so I drive, and you know, me just driving, I'm sitting down,
just breathing,
just breathing through my nose. I've still got my nasal strip on, so I just sit there and breathe, and then by the time I get home, I'm ready to have my brekkie or my shake or whatever, and I'm in a pretty parasympathetic spot at that time. And also I'm very insulin sensitive as well, because I've just finished a grueling workout, so that really helps me.
Yeah, for sure. With that, on the nasal strip, do you wear it during your weight workouts as well?
Yeah. So what I do is right before I go to bed, I strip it on. And here's the thing, actually, shout out to the ones that you use and gave me, called from Breathe Ease. I was using the ones from Switch Nutrition. They're a bit thicker, and I found that they weren't as like sticky, like they were a bit weak and they'd fall off. These ones, they don't move. It's amazing. And so I'll wake up and I'm just like, well, it's still on me. I'm like, oh, screw it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, why wouldn't I have more oxygen while I'm training, get more oxygen to the muscles, and, you know, better breathing and stuff. I haven't noticed anything different on my heart rate tracker or anything.
Yeah.
But hey, we know placebo works. It works.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I still wear it. Don't get me wrong. People look at me funny. I don't give a shit anymore though.
Yeah.
Like you can tell people just like, they double take and look at you when you walk past them. And I'm just like,
Yeah. I think lastly, there is something to be said about like that nasal breathing with your cardio. So I think I just like lastly want to touch on that is if you are, you know, going in doing your cardio, potentially trying to breathe just through your nasal passage, especially in that sort of zone 2, 120, 140 BPM, can lead to some sort of, I guess, quicker and better, I guess, cardiovascular adaptations there. So that can be a quick one. If you guys do want to wear nasal strips while you're doing that, awesome. If not, I just find it's obviously an easier way. If you're trying to just breathe through your nose, having one of those strips is obviously going to help open it up more. If not, you're going to find breathing through your mouth a lot more. So give that a crack, even maybe guys on your next cardio session, even just trying to breathe through your nose or using a nasal strip, and see how you feel. If you feel like there's a bit of a, I guess, a quicker cardiovascular difference, you might even see, you know, more of a drop in heart rate if you've got those sort of tools as well.
I'm using it for my Stairmaster sessions, and I have noticed that usually I'd get 20 minutes in and my heart rate was starting to creep over the 140. It's not doing that as much anymore. So I don't know if it's, one, the quality of the recovery of my sleep the night before from the nasal strip, or it's purely because I'm wearing the nasal strip while I'm training. But
Probably just you getting fitter as well.
But all I know is it's working.
Yeah, could be all of them.
If placebo works, it works.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, guys. I think that covers it. So you guys should have a really idea of, you know, what to do now when you get into the gym in terms of a warm-up. Obviously, like you said, want to raise that body temperature, want to open up any, you know, sort of stiffer joints and things like that. And then obviously we want to start ramping the nervous system up. If we can do those 3 things, you're in a really, really good position to have a fantastic workout and obviously reduce your risk of injury. And of course, talked about the cool down stuff as well. But again, if you got any questions, please message me on Instagram at Action Fitness Nutrition, or Liam at Coach Liam C. Murphy. Or of course, if you want us to cover anything, please message us at the Extra Rep Podcast on Instagram. We'll add it to the list and we will talk about anything you guys want to. But until then, guys, we will see you in the next podcast.
Thanks, guys.